How you doing, Bruin fans? Todd Reeves here with your UCLA Daily Report. Glad you joined me on this Friday, April 3rd, 2026. Glad you joined us on the UCLA Daily Report, part of the Fan Arch Network. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you have any comments, leave them down below. I know some of you have already. I really appreciate those comments. I read them all. And also, I appreciate all the subscriptions and all the likes from all you Bruin fans out there. I really appreciate it. And it shows you the love and the passion that a lot of people have for the UCLA athletic department and like to see their success. So let's keep it going. Also, I want to point out if you're not able to get to YouTube, please listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review and let me know what you think of the show. But please, if you're going to review, do 5 stars. 5 stars. If you're not going to do 5 stars, just don't review it at all. But again, I appreciate all the feedback and all the reviews, and we're trying to get the word out for this thing. So hopefully it continues. But let's start with spring football. It was day one of spring football yesterday. Head coach Bob Chesney finally got out there. Now, I will warn you to begin with, I'm not going to, rehash, oh, this guy looked good or this guy didn't look good or, this happened or whatever. You can read those reports online. I'm not going to take what those people have made a lot of time and effort to uh, make those reports and put those things together. You can go and read those, but I will give you some things, some more broad things that happened and, non-specific stuff that went on. It was a nice day for day one of practice. The field looked good. The players were in shoulder pads, helmets, and shorts. So no, it wasn't a full padded practice or anything like that. The media was allowed to be in the first 20 to 30 minutes of the practice, which involved, warm up, stretching, and then some drill work. Most of the team stuff, though, the media was not there for. And then at the end, they let the media back in for the end of practice for a few minutes there, and saw some videos from quite a few people online on social media, different things of practice. I would say the one thing that stood out to me was the end portion of the practice when the Bruins were supposed to line up in two lines, like 10 yards apart, do an up down, sprint forward, do an up down, sprint forward. And I guess the team wasn't used to it, used to that drill, because they really made it a cluster mess out there at first. And you could hear the whistle blow, and Coach Bob Chesney, let him have a little bit and dropped an F bomb, which football coaches are known to do, but I just thought that was funny. The Bruins still getting used to everything out there, and it was the first day, so the it was good to see the team out there and getting ready. And then after the practice, Coach Chesney spoke to the media, and that's what I kind of want to focus on is what he said afterwards, because the things that he's trying to implement, most of the players out there are not used to. So, he did say he liked the attitude of the team. The attitude was great. The enthusiasm was great. I saw some videos on the UCLA football social media, like the meeting beforehand, where seemed like there was a lot of enthusiasm. There was an 8 clap done. So, the one thing that Coach Chesney did say, though, it is the first day. You're always going to be hyped up and ready to go on day one. It's later on, day 5, day 10. You got to keep up that same enthusiasm, and that's the real test. So, the first day was a little bit of an adjustment for the players and the new staff. I already mentioned the up down drill, but like Coach Chesney mentioned that someone asked one of the JMU transfers, do we take our helmet off here and stuff, just little things like that. But Coach Chesney also downplayed that and said, the coaching staff's been here since January. It's been 3 months. So a lot of the players know what's going on. And I think it was just more of a first day thing, the first day of practice, just like the first day of anything brand new is going to be, have some rough spots. And I think probably the practice did a little bit. But Coach Chesney downplayed those too and just said, it's the first day. He did mention, though, that these days are important, that the first couple of days of spring practice are just as important as the later days in spring practice because they're, starting to build that foundation and take things each day and build off of those. And he wants to keep that going and not have like dips, where we're doing really well at this and this and this, and then we're building on it, and then have bad practices on day 8 or something like that, and guys not doing as well and not taking it as seriously. So he wants to keep building on stuff and keep the level high throughout spring practice. So we'll see how that goes. And nothing is ever going to be perfect, as he said. A lot of stuff is new for these guys. So you just got to take it with a grain of salt a little bit, and just try to teach them the correct things. And so, there was also, one of the reporters asked him about rotating guys, and Coach Chesney said, "Yeah, that's his philosophy. They rotate a lot of guys in and out, especially like he mentioned the offensive line in particular. There was a lot of guys coming in and out of there, uh, so that was part of the process as well. The most important thing he actually didn't mention, which is good, which is no injuries. So, I mean, he did go out of his way saying that they stayed off the quarterbacks, rushing them, weren't hitting them. So that's always a good thing. As far as we know, the reports are no injuries. So every day that you can have a spring practice and not have any injuries is definitely a good thing. So that was day one of spring practice. But how about from day one of spring practice to the Final Four in Phoenix, where the women's basketball team is set to go against the Texas Longhorns? The Bruins, again, a 1 seed, as is Texas. What's interesting is all 4 1 seeds made this Final Four. And not only that, all 4 1 seeds, it was the NCAA buzzer beaters on Twitter pointed out that all 4 1 seeds have won each of their tournament games by at least 10 points. So all the games have been double digits. So all 4 of these teams have pretty much just cruised through to the Final Four, but now the real basketball begins, because these are going to be some hard fought games. These are the 4 best teams in the country. And again, UCLA looking for revenge. UCLA's only loss was to Texas back in Thanksgiving in Las Vegas by a score of 76-65. The 2 keys in that game were Lauren Betts only had 8 points and 7 rebounds. They're going to need a lot more for her, because she was the one of the 4 finalists for the Naismith Player of the Year. She could be the best player in the country, so they're going to need a lot more than 8 points out of her. And also, UCLA turned it over 20 times in that game and only had 12 assists. So, I mean, when you have 8 more turnovers than assists, that is a recipe for disaster. So, one of the big keys tonight will be taking care of the basketball and not turning it over. Also, the leading scorer, excuse me, for Texas didn't have that great a game. The they led by 20 at halftime, but their leading scorer, sorry about that, Madison Booker, shot just 6 of 17 from the field. She's their leading scorer, and she had 16 points, but she did have 7 rebounds and 5 assists. So all around, she had a pretty good game. She just didn't have a big scoring game. But the big scorer was Rory Harrison for Texas, who only averages 8 points a game. She had 26 against UCLA. She hit both her 3-point attempts, and she hit all 6 of her free throws, and she went 9 of 15 from the floor. So a great game from her, maybe one of the best of the season or her career. So UCLA is going to have to keep her in check and do a good job on Booker like they did before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. They play at 6:30 tonight on ESPN, approximately 6:30. The first semifinal is UConn against South Carolina. That starts at 4 o'clock Pacific time, and then the Bruins will play a half an hour after that. So approximately 6:30 against Texas. And again, UCLA looking for their first NCAA national championship. They have won women's basketball championship again back in 1978, but that was not an NCAA sponsored sport. So they're looking for their first one. And if they do, they're probably going to have to go through Texas and UConn. We don't know that for sure, but if they do, those are the last 2 teams to beat the Bruins. And so UCLA will have to take care of business when it comes to Phoenix. So we've had women's basketball in the Final Four, and let's finish things up with men's basketball. Some announcements have come out officially um, from the horse's mouth, as we should say, as interviews have come out. The latest one, Eric Daly has announced he is coming back. It's signed, sealed, and delivered, as well as Eric Freeney, Brandon Williams, and Xavier Booker, all coming back. So if you were worried about losing some of the roster from this past season, you don't have to worry about that any longer. A lot of these guys look like they're um, ready, willing, and able to come back and have good relationships with Mick Cronin and are looking forward to their next season here in Westwood. The one question mark, though, well, actually, there's two question marks. We still don't know about Sky Clark and his waiver from the NCAA about getting a sixth year and nothing about Trent Perry, who, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, that's the key player to bring back. And he's the one who has not announced yet if he's coming back. Once again, the portal opens on April 7th. So next Tuesday, the portal will be open and we'll see if Perry puts his name in there or not. I mean, this speculation, but you never know with these college athletes. You got a lot of people in their ear talking, saying, "Oh, you could get this, you could get this." You also probably have some schools talking to his agent saying, "We can give you this or we can give you that." And of course, Mick Cronin's already talked to him. So Trent Perry knows what to expect from Mick Cronin as far as an NIL offer and playing time and all that kind of thing. So Trent Perry is weighing his options for sure, and it's a little bit of a nervous time for UCLA and its fans. It didn't work out so well last year with Daimara, but again, Trent Perry's a different situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that Trent Perry is leaving, but so far he's the only one of the possible returners who hasn't come out and said, "I'm coming back. I'm signed. I'm ready to go." So we'll see. That should happen hopefully fairly quickly. But until then, have a great weekend, Bruin fans. Thanks again for joining me. Don't forget 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and like and subscribe here on YouTube. Glad you've joined us today, and we look forward to talking to you again on Monday when we talk, hey, maybe a recap of the Final Four and possibly another national championship for UCLA. All right, take care, everybody. See you next week.